Now I
Paul?
can't hear Ben.
Oh no. I can hear
I don't.
you. I can
Ben
hear
Ben can
you.
hear me. I
Yes.
can't hear Ben. So that's fun. Let's see if I can fix that somehow.
This is where I make a snarky
Let's
comment
see.
about
How do
Paul
I
not
do?
listening to
Let's
me
see
anyway.
here. Bluetooth is on. Audio is on. Maybe I need to quit and start over. Ben, I'll call you
Okay.
right back.
He's gonna call me right
So
back.
I'm
Oh
gonna call Ben
no!
right back
And now
if I
I'm on the
can.
stream
Uh,
all by
no, this is where. Okay,
myself.
so leave. I'm leaving.
Alright, and this is where I have to do this, otherwise it looks kind of creepy. And yeah, I made a dumb joke earlier about how Paul can't hear me, and I said how he doesn't listen to me anyway. That's not true. Paul listens to me. That's not that bad. Oh, and he's back.
Wi-Fi. Hey, I can hear Ben.
Can you
Look at
hear
that. We
me?
did it. Yep.
Hooray! We did it!
Yeah, that
so,
was only a minute or so. No, we were 2 minutes in. 2 minutes
so
in.
what I said, probably when you couldn't hear me, was, how's it happening?
Oh, Ben, how's it happening, my good friend?
It's happening. Things are happening. How's your happening?
Oh, all right. My air quality is probably better than yours, from what I understand.
No, it's the East Coast that's getting smoked, not the West Coast.
Oh, okay. Well
Yeah.
then you're.
Yeah.
I thought it was just everything up north.
No, we're fine
I
here.
I know some people who are in the Northeast, and they are not having a good time.
Yeah, I've seen pictures from New York City, and it looks terrible. I see you also checking out your hair. Did you give yourself a fresh buzz today?
No, I didn't. No, it's growing. My hair is growing out, so my tuft is getting larger,
Ah,
and I'm obsessed with it.
I don't know.
And do this with it. And...
I don't know if you can see this on camera. I haven't shaved in a couple days because the last time I shaved, I cut myself shaving. I didn't just
Oh no!
I didn't just cut myself. I sliced off a piece of skin. I don't know if you can see that right there.
Sorry
It's-
to the people listening for
It's
my little scream.
and
That
I
was
can't.
genuine.
I don't actually want to shave again until that heals up properly and I can shave
Makes
it.
sense, yeah.
But yeah, it was it bled for like an entire day. It was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I get out of the shower and I'm toweling off that morning and there's like blood all over the towel.
Oh, Ben, no.
Yeah. Also, it's a drag too because the reason I shaved is because I wanted to go get a haircut. And
2 bits.
And but now I have to wait because for whatever reason I don't like getting a haircut when I haven't shaved in a while. It's because I know why they shore up my sideburns, and so I don't want this like a different hair length between my sideburns,
Yeah.
what used to be my sideburns, and my beard.
Something that Beck sang in one of his songs. I have a beard that would disappear if I dressed in leather. My impression being that he doesn't want to wear a leather jacket and also have a scruffy beard, which, might make sense. So bad news on the car front, unfortunately. The Prius, the
The
Beast.
one that was in the accident?
No. Unfortunately, this is the green one that I drove that I put the fun stickers on.
Okay.
I got a warning. It was for the battery. It was the hybrid battery, which is the battery that drives the electric car,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
It needs to be replaced. It was going to be $3,000, and it was like, nope, can't.
Yeah.
So now we have a one car thing going on at our house. I am, however, selling the car back to them. That's where I bought it. Selling it back to them for $500. But it's actually going to be $450 because I have the tax is going to be even more probably, but I need to pay them $50 because I can't find the title of the car. It's somewhere.
Yeah, that's usually something you should keep track of. Is this so? The place you're selling it to is the place you bought it from. Is the place that told you it's going to be $3,000 to replace the batteries?
Yes. I understand all of this is, but $3,000 was the price that I found online for all the.
Yeah.
Like you can put a used battery in it for 1,500, but
then it's a used battery that you're gonna have to replace again in a year.
And you put it in also. That's the other.
You put it in. Really, these batteries don't say. I've never, of course, owned a hybrid, but it feels like you have to like lift the entire top of the car off.
I've seen the car taken apart once before, and it's insane.
Yeah.
I've basically bought this car twice over the years with all the stuff I put into it.
I when I had my Tercel, I had my Toyota Tercel for 14 years. And I kept track of not every single dollar I put into it. I didn't keep track of like every like oil change, every gas.
Yeah.
But I did keep track of all the maintenance and repairs. And over the course of the 14 years of owning the car, now keep in mind, I bought this car as when it was already 15 years old.
Right.
I paid, over the life of owning that car, I put more money into that car than it would have cost to buy new in 1991. Yeah. And that's why I sold the car.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It would have been actually $3,500 if I had also, because also there was a coolant leak. I had to get a new coolant, whatever. So it would have been 500 total. There's also some other stuff that when I took it to the Valvoline place, they said you're probably gonna need to change transmission fluid, but depending on what the problems are inside the transmission, you could run up having a whole bunch of repairs for the transmission as well. I had forgotten about that until I heard about the hybrid battery being $3,000, and then I was like, oh well, yeah, no, I better not.
I feel you. I just dropped some heavy coin to repair my car, and like again, it's the car died on me, which was it hadn't done that before, and I took it in, and it had to have like a bunch of, and of course they found a bunch of other things that needed to be done, and I'm like, fine, just couldn't do it. And so picking it up from the shop, it was like receiving a brand new car just because of all the stuff they did to it.
Yep. Speaking of which, Ben, it's time for Ben Gonna Guess the News.
Ben Gonna Guess the News. Is it Pat Robertson dying today?
Wait, what?
Yeah, Pat Robertson died today.
Oh, interesting.
That's probably the nicest thing regarding his death I've heard all day.
Yeah. When I heard that the total amount to fix my car was going to be $3,500, the number struck me as interesting. Why would that be?
Would that be because that is the same cost as the Apple Vision Pro augmented reality headset that was announced this week?
Absolutely, Ben. That is exactly why.
Wow.
And here's something that I noticed in the commercial that I'm wondering if you noticed as well. There was something interesting about the Apple augmented headset, the Apple Vision Plus, and the people who were using it. What happened during the commercial, or rather, what didn't happen that is different than one might expect with, like, say, Google Glass?
I have no idea. I watched
in the commercial. Did you see the commercial?
I watched. I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. I went to the Apple website and I watched like half of the promo video, which was like 5 minutes long.
So you may not know this.
I may not have seen it, but
I could be wrong. Let's keep that in mind because this is this podcast.
They're all by themselves.
They're all
alone
in their house.
Yeah.
They are not walking around wearing them.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Which is the difference between Google Glass and Apple Vision Plus. At least right now, the idea is you are using this at home.
Yeah.
You're not running around wearing it.
It's what did they call it? They call it like something computing. I can't remember the name they
I think they called it. Did they call it visual computing? Was that it?
No, it starts with an S.
Yeah,
Spatial computing. Yeah, so it's not meant to be. I mean, again, I'm only, surface level knowledge of all of this stuff. But I don't think it's meant to be something you walk around with in your day to day. It's supposed to replace your home desktop.
Yeah, and your home entertainment system. Yeah, exactly. And when you think about it that way, I mean, it does cost about as much as a really good TV. So that's kind of what they're going for.
Like a really good TV. I mean,
I said people. I told Jennifer people will buy this. This isn't going to be a thing where people aren't getting it. I mean, I wouldn't mind having it, especially if I was like infirmed.
Judging by, I mean, that's a good point. But judging by my use of my own, because I have an Oculus Quest 2, they're not called Meta Quest 2s. I would probably use it for a week and then put it in the closet and never think about it again.
Well, this was another good thing about their ad, right? Because their big thing with their ad was you're using the apps that you're already using. They're just in front of you now and you can touch them and stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting, I think, kind of, where, if I'm not mistaken, in the Apple Vision Plus commercial, they also weren't holding any sort of controllers.
They weren't.
They were using their hands.
And they weren't that. I noticed that there was one part, they weren't even holding their hands up. The hands were like resting comfortably on their lap. And yeah. So I did notice. I mean,
because they mentioned that you do it by looking.
Yeah. One thing I did clock in the release video. Again, only watched half of it. But I noticed, and I could be wrong, but there was no actual, I'm going to call it gameplay. There was no actual gameplay footage. It all was just like hypothetical. These images have been simulated. Right?
Yeah. I think that is true. The one other thing that was interesting, and I mentioned this to Jennifer, when I first saw it, they talk about FaceTime and how FaceTime is really good. And they saw a person wearing the headset talking to two people who weren't wearing the headset. I was like, that's interesting. They're expecting that you're going to have one and your friends won't. I guess that's real. And then later on, though, those people who weren't wearing their headsets were wearing their headsets, but the Apple Vision Plus
Pro
makes an avatar of you that mimics your facial expressions when people are talking to you. Which of course, will never be abused or...
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna get one, and it's not just because of the cost, which is, I mean, the Apple's getting kind of slammed because it's so expensive. But I'm just like, again, I don't see a use for it in my day-to-day life. Now, of course, that may change. As you said, I may become infirm, or for whatever reason, maybe when it gets released, for whatever reason, I will have enough money to buy one, and I will pick one up.
Or working from home, maybe they do it. I don't know what the security would have to be for that, though. Also, one of the big things that they were. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, much like enterprises buy a crap ton of laptops and put their own security software on them, I see companies buying these things in bulk and fitting them with the security protocol that conforms to the company standards.
Yeah, the one other thing that they mentioned is that there's almost no latency.
Almost no latency. Sort of also depends on your Wi-Fi speeds, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think they meant between the headset and the computing thing that shows up. That was the other thing that I was wondering. And they haven't said this yet, so it may not be true. Is all of the stuff in the headset you don't need an iPhone. You don't need a, because
I
that's the
mean,
other thing, right? What, imagine, if you will, it's three. If it's $3,500, it should be all that you need.
right.
You shouldn't have to also have a computer or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I don't
who
know.
knows?
I mean, like, is the Apple Watch, does that only work if you have an iPhone, or does an Apple
It
Watch work
does.
with an
Yeah.
Android?
Right now it only, well, ooh, I don't know about Apple and Android, but right now it only works if you have a phone.
Well, I
You
know that.
can get one that works without a phone, but you have to have it paired to a phone anyway, if that makes
Right.
sense.
So, yeah, I don't know. Again,
Hey,
it's not a product I was
oh,
interested in, so I didn't research it too much.
I'm very interested in it, but I'm also probably not going to get it. Speaking about which, I was on Reddit for a day. I was like, okay, can't do this because I was just on Reddit. That was all. I mean, it was a weekend, but I didn't do anything else. I was just like, oh, this thing, and then this thing, and then I mean, absolutely no other work got done. No
Yeah,
other TV got watched. No other.
it's
Oh,
it's a time crunch.
also
It's a time suck.
confession, and they're not going to find this, but if they do, I stopped my first Patreon that I'm not following anymore because I mean I like the people who run the thing.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say what it is too, because I don't want them to get, you know,
but it's
I
a
don't want to influence other people against them,
so role
but basically
playing
whatever,
podcast. I'm assuming.
maybe whenever a new thing would drop. Okay, I will say it. I'll say it. They won't know. It's unprepared casters. Hey, unprepared casters, if you're listening to this, still like you and all that. But this is exactly what was happening. I was really busy, and whenever there would be a new podcast that they would put out, my experience wasn't, oh, look, a new podcast, yay. It was, I guess I'm gonna have to listen to this now too. Like it felt like a work thing. And I
Yeah,
realized it was just that it is a good actual play podcast, but it's one of those things like watching other people do improv. At some point in time you're like, okay, I don't want to hear you do this, I just want to play. You know, I would have done this differently, this is what I wasn't enjoying it as much.
I
And so,
I belong to a Patreon. I'm not gonna say who it is,
oh great,
but
you basically, I had to say who mine was, Ben, because otherwise the other actual play podcast that I subscribe to would think it was them.
I'm not gonna.
And it's not.
I
Worlds Beyond
belong.
Number is really great.
I belong to a
I also like
Patreon.
not another D&D podcast.
I
Sorry, Ben. Go
submit,
ahead.
Paul. I submit. I support a Patreon, and this person updates, like, sends an email every. It's a monthly charge, so I'm not being charged
Uh-huh.
by email, but, like, and I never read what they send out. I never look at it. I never open the links. I don't delete the emails, but I just, like, oh, there's that. It's in the morning. The reason I do it is because this person is a friend of mine and I want to support them. And so
Yeah.
basically
Well,
it's
and
just
this is
like
the thing is,
a $5 monthly donation to my friend.
yeah, this one I was a higher tier subscriber. That's part of it. Number one, and then number two, it wasn't that I was paying for the thing either. It was a monthly charge too, but it was just higher than $5.
Yeah.
And basically when they were starting out and sort of struggling, I felt good about it, and then now they have way more people, and now I feel okay about not.
They don't need your $25 or whatever.
Right, exactly. When you were and Ben, when you were gonna say who you were supporting on Patreon, I was gonna make a joke and I decided not to, because I feel like it would have been in bad taste or disparaging towards you. It's your former comedy, I wouldn't say idol, but someone that we saw and we liked in comedy, Jay Johnson
Jay Johnston.
actually did in fact do a January 6th.
It was
Has been confirmed.
pretty widely known in the comedy community that it was him.
Yeah.
But now after 3
2
years,
years, two,
two
2 or 3
years,
years. Yeah, I think 2 years.
he's finally been arrested by the
Yeah.
feds and charged in connection with breaking and entering, I guess.
Some other
Felony
things.
entry.
There are a
Yeah.
couple. There are a couple of things.
He did a few things, which is,
Interference was one of them. I think it's because of him putting water in or
yeah,
helping out 3 people. Also, he had a riot shield, according to the article that you sent me
yeah. He
at one point.
either like picked it up because somebody had dropped it or stole it from somebody,
Yeah.
but
But
was in
either way,
possession of.
yeah. I kind of want a riot shield. It'd be nice to have.
We have homemade riot shields here at the theater that were created for the Chaz occupation down the street.
Really?
Oh,
What
yeah.
are they made out of?
I have no idea. Heavy plastic, I think, and wood.
So anyway, yeah, that's kind of too bad. There were mentions that several people, John Gabris was one of them, had made sly references to it in some of their appearances and stuff like that. At one point in time, someone said, I was thinking about Mr. Show the other day, and someone else said, oh, because of January 6th, which was too bad. But yeah, it's one of those things where, the reason we brought him up at one point in time in this podcast, and this is why I'm saying, search the audio, everybody, you can find it. Because we had said that conservatives lots of times weren't funny. We did not find them funny.
Yeah.
And then we both kind of thought at the same time, oh, maybe you this would be a very nice retcon if you said it and then I said, and we both kind of thought about if it was you and not me. But that Jay Johnston,
Yeah, Johnston? With a T.
With a T, was most likely of those opinions, at least a little bit. You have to kind of be, right? You don't just turn on a dime that way.
I don't know. I mean,
you might.
It's possible you weren't like a full lefty radical and then got turned by QAnon, but I don't know what his politics were, but
Did you say a lefty radical?
Yeah, a lefty radical.
And then get turned by QAnon? Because QAnon is a right wing thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Which is a right wing radical.
So, I see. I see what you mean. You start off as a lefty radical.
Yeah. So I don't see him doing that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't. It's I don't know what his politics are. I just have this assumption that everybody who is in like the West Coast comedy scene is somewhat liberal.
Yeah, you would think, and yet, maybe not.
And yet,
so my question.
I think it also means a lot that a lot of his friends are surprised by that.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those situations also where it's like, did he turn and then become unfunny? It's kind of a. I mentioned before about Dennis Miller, about how, I saw him in Columbia, Missouri, and he, at this point in time, it was when Ross Perot was running, and it was Admiral Stockdale was his vice president.
Who am I? Why am I here?
Right. He mentioned that guy, and everybody laughed. And he said to the audience, hey, look, this is what this guy did. This is who he was. And he's an actual human being, and you're making fun of him. And you really, should think about that. And I did. And I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So
it also,
at least,
like Dennis Miller strikes me as the kind of comedian who would say something like that just to be edgy to his audience, babe.
Yeah, and maybe he went full right wing as a bit, but it stuck. but the thing is that here's kind of how I think about it. I do believe that someone, and I didn't used to believe this, but I do now. I think that someone could be funny and also conservative, like very conservative, could also be funny. But I feel as though the right wing comedy field is how would I say it? Um, Easy to get into. Like there aren't that many right wing comedians. So if you are one and you're not good, you could rise to prominence anyway.
Yeah.
And so therefore the representative right wing comedians that we watch aren't good because it's easy to do well in that. I am not, however, going to try it and see if that
You don't want
if
to
that is
pull
true.
a Larry the Cable Guy and see if you can infiltrate right wing comedy.
Yeah, I think it would be too dangerous.
I saw this whole video. There's a YouTube channel called Some More News, and this guy did an entire. It was like an hour-long presentation on why conservatives aren't funny, and I don't really remember his thesis, but I remember like agreeing with what he had to say. But just now I was thinking about maybe one of the reasons why we don't find right-wing humor funny is because the whole ideology of conservatives is, I'm going to generalize here, othering other people, hating people who aren't like you. Normally, these present as minorities, like immigrants or LGBTQ people. Progressives, on the other hand, are all about like smashing the patriarchy, going after billionaires. So it is a question of punching up versus punching down comedy.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, at least at one point in time, punching down was comedy, right? You remember, I mean, what the comedy greats who did it? You have your can't even think of his name now. Don Rickles is the big guy, the big one.
Yeah.
People liked his stuff, and his stuff was a lot about
Yeah, but he also made fun of like the most powerful people in Vegas, right?
yeah,
So
and
like
and I
making fun of Frank Sinatra, I mean, I think for his audience kind of gave him a little leeway to make fun of whoever he wanted
yeah,
to.
I'll say this: Bill Burr. Some people would say that he is more conservative than a lot of other comedians, but he still can make this is, I think, you know what, just as I'm saying, he can still make true observations that are that hit home and are correct.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe he might be one of them as well. Plus, he was on Better Call Saul. Then again, so was Jay Johnson. So
Was he? I don't remember. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
when they
sure he
made
had a
the
small
the
part.
fake Mesa Verde ads, he played the dad.
Yeah. I
Oh,
was probably
spoilers for Better Call Saul, I
I was
guess.
probably not surprised to see him in it because he tends to show up in a lot of Bob and David properties. Like
Yeah,
he had a part in Arrested Development.
he was
And
also
then
he was in the reboot also.
of Arrested Development.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, Bob and David on Netflix, I
Oh
think it
yeah, yeah,
was.
yeah. With Bob and David.
With Bob and David, that's right.
Yeah.
Uh, which didn't do so well, but
I liked it.
I liked it enough. I haven't seen all of the Kids in the Hall reboot. Um,
It's
the,
great. I
they did
do. Yeah.
they did the thing about two naked guys, which I thought was really funny. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Right off the bat,
I'll,
episode 1, two naked dudes.
yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it again. or watch more of it. But yeah, I mean, like I like Dropout, right? Dropout is very diverse in its cast and very liberal with its politics, and I enjoy it immensely. Um, I don't, and here's the thing, I don't know why I'm searching for it, Ben. Maybe it's just because I turned 50 and the change is starting, but I I feel as though that there is there is someone out there. I don't know why I want to know who they are, but there's someone out there who is very funny and also very conservative in their politics. And I think that the way that I personally, me, Paul, would approach them is, I wonder if they'd still like me. Like I feel like there's some sort of
Just don't talk politics.
collaborator gene in me. Sort of like, the growing up in the Midwest, growing up around, farmers and men's men and stuff like that. Knowing that I wasn't them, anytime that I would
Yeah.
get any sort of respect from them, I would be over the moon. I was like, oh, this guy, who can throw hay bales and drive a tractor and do all this kind of stuff, said that he thought that what I said was funny, and it was great. Um, just something about me that's a people pleaser, I suppose, Ben.
I'm sure that there are people. I mean, I've had blue collar jobs in my life, and I'm sure. I mean, there have been hilarious coworkers. Like whether they can put together a type 5, I have no idea. But just in conversation, they can be quite. Everybody's funny in their own way. Sometimes doesn't matter who you vote for.
Yeah, but in the same way, right? The funny guy, quote unquote, right? If he says something like, uh, I, you know, I wouldn't know what. I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to. I don't even want to say the thing.
Is it a question
But it's
between like being funny versus doing conservative comedy, like making jokes with a conservative bent versus just making a joke that has no
like
political.
okay, I'll give you. I'm not. I'm going to remove it from the situation where a man who is doing a traditional man's man job, right? Who is saying,
Iron worker.
a woman couldn't do this job. I wouldn't want her on my job site. I don't know, maybe if she gave me a lap dance, but other than that, I don't see any use for her, is not funny.
Correct.
It can be delivered in the style of a joke and other people will laugh at it. Does that make it funny? It it isn't funny to me. And again, the science of humor would say that it's not enough of a twist. It's not enough of a change to make it funny. It doesn't fit a joke in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there were something, called like a lap, if there was something called a lap steel harness that you use, and there's not, but if it was, and then they would make it, uh a lap steel harness, no, a lap dance harness, maybe, like if there was even a little bit of wordplay, maybe then, but even then, no. Like I don't know why I'm trying to think of, again, this is a problem that I'm having. um at one point in time,
Let's
I made
justify misogynistic comedy.
some life choices. I made some life choices just to see if I could handle making bad life choices. Like, and that was the reason I did the thing, right? I was like, I'm going to do this to see if this thing that I think is a mistake is an actual mistake,
Right.
right?
Learn by
Um,
doing.
taking on a job that I knew I wasn't going to be good at. If we're going to be honest, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I'll hate this or if it'll be okay. That sort of thing. And finding out that I hated it.
And by then, it's too
It's
late.
it's just one of those things, right? So, but the good news, of course, is that now you and I are not being taken for a I don't know what to say, a smoky entertainment inside time like the people on the East Coast. The information that I'm getting from the people that I know over there is that it looks like it's foggy out. They can't go outside for more than a little bit or else they feel horrible. And they're getting alerts on their phones all the time.
Yeah.
About stuff.
There was
about the air quality.
There was somebody, and I don't know why this was said, but there was a commentator on Fox News, a clip of which I just briefly saw. And this guy was saying that it's not dangerous to breathe that air, and in fact, it's woke to complain about the how unhealthy the air is. And I mean, I guess ultimately behind it, it's a climate
you can
change
find someone
denier.
to say anything.
But yes, but I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It seems like you wouldn't necessarily need that.
This guy's gonna, this guy's gonna tell us the asbestos in our pipes is actually good for you.
Well, see, this is the thing: is that it's one of those things like when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail thing. Talk about the idea that pollution isn't as bad as it needs to be. That's one thing, but this is good old-fashioned smoke from a fire that's burning.
Right.
It's like the whole she's never going to pick you, dude, that whole thing. It's like natural disasters aren't an industry that you can get a job at or buy stock in. Ooh, maybe you can. Maybe people are buying stock in companies that
put out wildfires.
And so they want them to do more. Sorry, I keep looking at this, Ben, because here's the thing. It started out as a mohawk, and then I messed up, and so I just shaved the little spot. I've done this before. In fact, I think this is the schoolyard bullies look for a little bit, because I've got this little line. There is some hair that goes back from it, but pretty much this sort of line and then a little line of hair that just says, here, shave everything from here back, and it'll be neat and tidy. But the thing is, when I look at it from this angle, this is great for an audio medium, by the way. I'm looking, everyone, at my hair, and I have a little nub coming out of my forehead. It's not a unicorn horn. It's like the docked tail of a Doberman Pinscher.
In fact, if you let it grow out in like another couple months and grow out a beard to a point from your chin, you will have a Mac Tonight look.
Hey, and I'm going to be serious here. When I was a kid and Mac Tonight was on, I was like, that's one cool dude. I felt like Mac Tonight was an all right guy. Speaking about which, by the way, Jennifer fact checker from the old episodes, if you listen to those, also born in Australia, as you may or may not know, Ben.
I did know that.
Did not know about Jacko. First of all, I'm stopping there. Do you know about Jacko?
Is Jacko some sort of thing that was on TV in the 80s?
It was.
I say
he was?
I'd probably know who this is. I just didn't know the name.
I'm going to give you another hint. And he was the last human pitchman for a battery company.
The last human pitchman for a battery company. Is this battery company Energizer?
It is.
Okay.
Jacko was an Australian footballer who was famously known to run in very high energy and say, "It's going to surprise you, Energizer, oi."
I don't recall these commercials. No.
Oh my gosh, I'm the only one maybe.
I'm
but
wondering if that was a Midwest thing.
It really stuck with me. It was in the 80s. And here's the other thing. You probably don't know this either. 1988, how old would you have been?
12.
All right. See, and I would have been 15. Math checks out. So there was a TV show on NBC called The Highwayman.
Okay.
That was billed as a cross between Mad Max and Knight Rider, about a guy with a futuristic truck who would drive around a post-apocalyptic world solving crimes. He was known as the Highwayman, and he had a sidekick named Jetto, Jetto, played by Jacko. Jetto was a survival expert, and at one point in time, there was a bumper for the show where the guy playing the Highwayman said, "It's assault," and then Jacko said, "And battery." And as a kid, when I heard that, I thought, "Oh well, he's going to punch somebody. That makes sense." And it wasn't until today when I thought about Jacko for the first time in a really long time. Also because his haircut was sort of like this. It was it was blonde and had a spiky part on the top. A spiky bit, or I should say. That battery thing was a joke for his other thing that people knew him for. I really didn't get it.
Before they called them Easter eggs.
Yes.
Going back to Mac Tonight, a little bit of interesting trivia. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Do you know who played Mac Tonight? It was his first TV gig.
Wow. No, I don't. In fact, I know this sounds crazy, but up until this point, I thought Mac Tonight was just a weird spiritual entity that they were able to pipe into those commercials. Who was it?
In the McDonald's commercials, when they had Mac. Now, I don't know if it was I don't think it was his voice, but the actor in the Mac Tonight costume was none other than Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. For those of you who are listening that don't know who Doug Jones is every tall, thin character that you've ever seen in makeup, pretty much. It's really good. And we got to see his acting chops in Star Trek Discovery, where he plays alien.
There is a locally produced to Seattle web series called Automata, starring your friend of mine, Basil Harris. Now, yes. Basil has a robot sidekick in that show. Now, keep in mind, I haven't seen this yet. But the robot sidekick is played by a local actor here. I don't know you know him. His name is Dylan Smith. He is a very Doug Jones-like character. He's very tall and skinny, and he wore a mocap suit. So he in the finished product, he's this robot. The voice. Now, this is the cool part. The voice of Dylan's character, voiced by Mr. Doug Jones himself. Yeah,
that's
cool.
Crazy. That they got a Doug Jones type, but then they also got Doug Jones.
Yeah.
That shows how well Mr. Jones is doing, by the way, because you hear a voice coming out of a body like that, and you want it to be the Doug Jones body. Abe Sapien.
Yeah.
So here's my question
Here's
about
an answer.
Automata.
Okay,
I
maybe
remember that filming like a long time ago. Is it out yet?
I think you can watch it. I think it's on YouTube. Because
Huh.
I want to say that Dylan posted something on Facebook recently and mentioned that you can now. Can you watch it on YouTube for free? I don't know. You may have to buy or rent it, but it is out there.
Okay. Because we like Basil Harris. We like watching him. Speaking of Mac Tonight, he's got a very sort of Mac Tonight kind of face,
very angular
shape. Yeah, very striking. Like if you were casting the Joker in a local Seattle production, you could not do better, I don't think, than Basil Harris. Basil Harris, famously, at least among our friends, is he the 8th, I want to say? Or he's really up there, and he comes from a long line of Basil Harrises.
I want to say he's the 4th.
No.
Yeah.
No, I believe it's more.
Whether or not he's actually the 4th one, but I think when I've seen it on paper, it's the 4th.
Okay. I don't like it.
Believe it, Paul. Believe it.
I think my friend Joe Priestley was Joe Priestley the 3rd, but he was all the way back. He traces lineage back to the Joe Priestley who discovered oxygen. He's a British scientist.
Woke up one day, I can breathe.
No, didn't create. Oh yeah, exactly. Isolated it, maybe. I don't know how to say it. But yeah, pretty exciting for old Joe Priestley.
Joe Priestley,
known by the world over as that oxygen guy,
the man who discovered oxygen. It was hiding behind that dumpster.
I believe that it was Charles Babbage who once baked himself in a 200-degree oven for a little while, and then got out and was like, "That was crazy."
Why did I do that?
Yeah, I want to say it was Charles Babbage. He was a computer guy. I think about it every once in a while. That it was him and a friend of his, I think, and they were just like, "Yeah, okay."
Charles, there are easier ways to bake yourself into a cake.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not how they do it.
Yeah. She baked a file into the cake that included incriminating documents. Just something fun that I like to think about. But yeah, okay. So other news: Jennifer's dad. I think we've mentioned this before. Moving back to the state of Washington.
Is he the one going to the Tri-Cities or something?
Yeah, that's right. And he is going to be here on Sunday. Jennifer wanted Betty and I to clean the house. And I thought about it, and I was like, why don't we just hire someone to clean the house? And she's like, I've been asking for this forever. And I was like, all you need to do is threaten to make me do it. And it suddenly seems like it makes a lot of sense.
You know what, though? I haven't hired anybody to clean my apartment, but when I re-signed my lease, not this past time, but the time before that, they gave me a professional house cleaning as a reward for coming back. Oh, and my apartment's never been cleaner. It was so worth it.
Okay, well that's good. Yeah, because for me, I'm concerned. I know that this is what they do for a living. But I just want to say I'm sorry to them.
Well,
I want to be like...
No, here's the thing. They clean, they don't tidy and organize. So what you would want to do is make sure that they have access to the things that they need to clean. Like counter surfaces, the bathtub, sinks, the floors, It's not their job to put all your crap away so they can clean.
Huh. I think that's what Jennifer said also.
What you in that case you don't need a house cleaner. You need a professional organizer.
Oh, is that a thing too? Yes.
I think they're a bit more expensive.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like, we do want to move in a year or so. So maybe just hold off and pay someone to pack the stuff. But who knows?
Wait, you'd pay people to do that?
There's no one else like you, Ben. You're one of a kind. Hey Ben, how would you like to move to Illinois for 2 months? No. Hey, the conversation for after the podcast.
Okay.
I had a question I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask you after the podcast, Ben. And it's not, are you going to move here to help me move? Just so you know, it's something else entirely. I was just reminded of something, but it's one of those personal life things that I never know where the line is. So it's good to wait until we can talk about it. So we have 8 minutes. You know what we haven't done in a while?
Oh,
We
Paul, I
haven't
think
talked
we
about-
haven't this week in GudeLaurance history.
Yeah, exactly. So Ben and I are visiting, and it's not necessarily every week that we do. We're doing all of our bits in order, but it may not be this week, right?
We haven't. Of course not. It's just something that we are doing this week. But
Yeah.
we haven't done it in a long time. And of course, there's a question I ask you before every single time we do this. And do you know what that question is?
Do I remember what we talked about last time?
Do you remember what we talked about last time?
I absolutely do not.
Did we do? Let me go back to. We did do a star-rated toilet, which was when I went to China and I showed a slideshow of things, and in between pictures of my visit to China, I had things for you to eat from Wajimaya. We did talk.
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
that's right. Yeah.
The week after that was 5-minute bachelor party. Did we talk about 5-minute bachelor
I don't
party?
think we talked about 5-minute bachelor party. So Jennifer Pratt. What day was it that we?
That was October 7th, 2005.
So I believe October 9th it was my wedding. So this was like right before.
Yeah. 2
Um,
days before. And
2 days
of course,
before.
this was
Which
our spin the
fits.
bottle piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So spin the bottle. I believe that we were at this point in time, we were in the Oddfellows Hall.
Yes, we were in the freehold space in the Oddfellows Hall.
Yes, that's right. And I remember that I left it up to you guys to figure out what that was going to be. And the only thing that I remember, there might have been other stuff that happened, but the only thing that I remember is Zach Lewis coming out dressed as a gorilla in a bikini. That's the last thing that I
there's video of this too. You can go to GudeLaurance.com and find it. But what we did was we presented you a chromomatic painting.
Oh, that's right.
That John DeShazo had built a frame for.
Was it the Introducing Monkeys one?
Yes.
Yes, I still have it. It's up in the room.
Glad to hear it. We toasted to you, and then Zach Lewis, who we enlisted to be the stripping gorilla. The gorilla suit, by the way, was procured for us by Rachel Jackson.
Nice.
Who I believe also bought the lingerie that Zach wore as the gorilla.
Very cool.
If you watch the video, you can see that when Zach takes off the bra, he accidentally rips off one of the hands. So throughout the
Oh,
entire, I don't know if you remember this, throughout the entire thing, he's trying to hide his human hand while he's dancing, like giving you a lap dance on
nice.
stage. And that was it.
Now, do you know this is maybe some new GudeLaurance trivia. Do you know the reason why 5 Minute Bachelor Party was one of uh was what we did at Spin the Bottle? Are you aware of this?
Well, you're not talking about because we were both doing a show at the time and didn't really have the energy nor want to do an actual one.
Well, it dovetails into that. The big thing is that if you remember, I normally didn't like to go out.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing, and I was very afraid of there being an actual bachelor party that was going to take a really long time. And so I pitched it. It's like, hey, why don't we do this? And we had that conversation about, we don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that it worked out really, really well.
Yeah. And it's all on tape.
Yep, and it's all on tape. So you, the listener, can watch it as long as YouTube still exists. And I do find it like, I don't want to sound like too crazy here, Ben, but all these years of human history, right, and all that, I feel like it is absolutely possible that there was something like what we have now, a way of recording things and playing them back that no longer exists, and that there could be tons of footage and stuff that we just can never see because of that. One of the interesting scientific ideas that somebody had was, could you decode sounds from pottery wheels or wheeled pottery? Do you remember this at all?
I don't.
Yeah, and I think with AI it might make a comeback. But the idea was basically that just like a record has, sounds recorded because of the vibrations and stuff like that, that there might be and I think it was pottery. I think that's what it was. That there was something that you could use a laser, a very fine laser, to read sound off of the pottery.
Well,
the
here's
sound
the
that was
question.
recorded while the pottery was going.
Like, are they talking about like the ambient sound in the room?
Yeah.
Or
Ambient
like
sound in the room.
An intentional thing put into the pottery?
I think an ambient sound in the room. I don't think it was an intentional thing put into the pottery. But it makes me wonder, is there, obviously maybe long destroyed, but wouldn't that be interesting if there were a podcast like ours that was, 10,000 years ago? However, I don't know how long humans have been around, like according to science.
More than 10,000.
Yeah. 10,000
like,
seems good.
What era of human development are we talking about? Are we talking about like, Homo sapiens? Are we talking about Homo erectus?
Well, here's the question that I have, right? Prehistory, right? Prehistoric. Is it possible that things that we call right now prehistoric, that there was history, that it was just lost, like the burning of the Library of Alexandria, stuff like that? I'm sure
was the center of human history in the Yucatan Peninsula, and it was just smashed by the asteroid that came and killed the dinosaurs.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I mean, it's not, but it is. Hey, and speaking about funny, we're almost to the end of another episode of the podcast, Ben. And yeah, I feel as though I wouldn't necessarily want there to be a Patreon for this show. It would be depressing. Maybe, or we would get too popular. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Well, I mean, the thing about Patreons is to entice people to join it, you have to give them rewards. And I don't think either of us want to go through the trouble of putting together rewards for Patreons.
Yeah, exactly. Unless, something weird were to happen.
Your reward is a weekly show.
Here, the thing we're already doing.
Right. And we're going to charge you for all the back episodes.
Yeah. Ugh. Hey, speaking about which, this is another one in the can, Ben. I will
Hey,
talk to you later. Hey, before I go, how's it happening?
how's it happening? And also, I bid you a good keep it wrong.
Hey, keep it wrong until I talk to you next time, which